the approach that we recommend is, instead of talking about your product, talk about the value that your product has to offer, the benefits that your product can make for your customer. Talk about the pain points that your product will help to resolve. Ask good questions. So have qualifying questions, pre-qualifying questions that identify if the prospect needs what you sell. The best salesperson is the one that asks the best questions. And so building interest, we believe that there are better ways to build interest than to talk about your product. Instead of talking about how your product took 3 years to develop and it's a game changer, talk to me about the ROI that your product has to offer. Talk to me about how your product is different from other options. Talk to me about how you've helped someone else. So to establish credibility is maybe share an example of how you've helped someone else. And the objections that you receive from your prospects should be part of your messaging, and in a way that you should have responses for your objections, and that can also impact your emails, and I'll talk to you about that here in a second. But once you have that as your foundation of knowledge, which is a shift, it's totally different way of looking at things. You really have to take a step back. It's much easier to talk about what your product is and what it does than to talk about all the benefits that it can help with. But when that becomes your foundation of knowledge, then that becomes what you say when you introduce yourself to someone, when you're making a cold call, when you're sending emails and whatnot. I would recommend you organize your thoughts in those different categories. How do we help? What problems do we resolve? What questions should we ask? Blah, blah, blah. Now, Sales Scripter can take you through that process. It can take you through that process step by step to say, okay, how does your product help from a value standpoint? What are the pain points that you fix? What are the qualifying questions that you should ask for each of those pain points, and so on. And now, by the way, that the software, once you organize all your thoughts into the software then will not only give you email templates that you can send for email sales prospecting, it's also going to use those same points for your voicemail script, for your call script. You get a bunch of stuff. But now let's get back to building your emails. And so instead of sending emails that say, hey, I'm with this company, we sell this, do you want to buy this? Let's send emails that focus on the benefits that you offer. You can send an email, and each of these topics could be an email by itself. So you could have an email that just focuses on the benefits that you offer. You could have an email that just focuses on the problems you resolve, an email that's only sharing a client example, an email that focuses on the objections that you receive. So let me explain how that works. So let's say that a prospect, an objection that you receive is that it's difficult to outsource supply chain management. Okay, that's an objection that you receive for the product that you sell. Well, you could create an email that is around, hi, Mrs. Prospect, I know a lot of people in your role often look at outsourcing supply chain management, and they run into a wall because it can seem like a nightmare. I don't know if you've reached that point, but that's why I'm reaching out. So there you go. There's an email, and it's not talking about your product. So those are some topics that you can use. A question that often comes up is, what's a good subject line? Well, this gets real easy if you go into that direction, which is, if you're sending an email that talks about the benefits that you provide, just put one of the benefits that you provide as the subject line. If you're sending an email that outlines some of the pain points that you resolve, just put one of the pain points as a subject line, and so on. So really taking a piece of that particular topic and putting it in the subject line. Another thing that I would give you advice on the subject line is to go back to the tip of, don't be a salesperson trying to sell something. So our goal is not to get a prospect to respond to our email. Our goal is to get the prospect to not instant delete the email. If we can achieve that, we're going to drive an improvement. And so you want your subject line not to be some magical thing that sells the deal. You want your subject line to not trigger any, oh, this is a spam, this is a salesperson. So don't use like a bunch of capital letters, a bunch of exclamation points, something that's real gimmicky, something that's real promotional. I don't personally, personally like using emoticons in subject lines. You just want it to sound very like person-to-person type of communication. Now let's look at email template examples or email examples. And this is actually an email template that's produced by SalesScripter. And there's some stuff here at the top of the screen that is just part of the interface when you're grabbing this template out of SalesScripter. So there's some different options that you can actually change the sales pitch that's filling up this template. By the way, we talked about sort of organizing your thoughts around the benefits and the problems. Now, you could go through that process once, like, okay, these are the benefits that my products offer. But you could actually get a bit sophisticated and think about the different benefits for the different products, and that's a good advanced step to take. But where you get really advanced is you start to think about the different buyers that you sell to, and when you go in that direction, you might start to realize that the different buyers, you offer them different benefits. Like when you're selling into both finance and HR, the CFO you help in different ways than you help the VP of HR. So really tailoring your emails to those different buyers will take you to the next level, no doubt about it. I mean, you don't have to go there just right out of the gate. Let's crawl, walk, run. So crawl is going to be shifting more to this type of messaging, and then when you're ready to walk or run, you can build out those different campaigns for those different buyers. SalesScripter makes that real easy because you can just go through those different, you go through a sales pitch builder for the different buyers and the different products. But then once you're looking at a template, that's what this drop down at the top, it says sales pitch. You can click that drop down and change the pitch to, you could change from CFO to the one for the VP of HR, or one from manufacturing to change your pitch to retail, and the email changes. About half of the email is fixed text that we wrote, and we're basically just plugging in your company name and your bullet points and what you're trying to close for, and then your name at the bottom. When you send the email, of course, it doesn't have all those options at the top. You just send the actual body of the email. It looks like a personal email, or you could copy and paste and dump into another email system. But anyway, so this is a value message. So, hello Mark. The reason why I'm reaching out to you is that I'm with TechLight, and we help businesses to improve the design traffic conversion rates for their website. And then benefit 2, benefit 3. I have a lot of benefits here. You could actually maybe trim this down to the 3 or 4 key benefits that are the strongest, kind of maintain brevity. But then let me go on to the bottom. I don't know if you're interested in any of those benefits, so that's why I'm reaching out to you. I'll try to give you a call next week. So again, here is the multi-touch mindset, which is, I'm not saying, let me know if you need this, which is also not trying to sell the product. It's saying, I'm going to try you next week. So and then again, you give them the option to agree to a meeting if they want to move quicker than that. So that's what we call a pre-call value message. Here's a pre-call pain message, which is a very similar message. We're just plugging in and shifting to the pain points. So the reason why I'm reaching out to you is I'm with TechLight, and we find that is very common for small businesses to have challenges with their website's not performing. It's difficult to clearly communicate. There's room for improvement with the layout and design. I'm not sure if you're concerned about any of those, but that's why I'm reaching out. I'm going to give you a call next week. So again, and now let's look back at some of our goals. We don't want to sound like a salesperson. So by the way, when I say don't sound like a salesperson, I'm not saying you want to disguise yourself and act like you're somebody completely different. I want you to present yourself more as a business person. And so that's what we do here. We're a business person looking to solve problems. We're not a salesperson looking to push products. And so we achieve that. We achieve the multi-touch mindset. We're not looking to sell the product. We're looking to move to the next step, our immediate goal. And so like I said, these aren't magic emails that you're going to get responses to every email that you send. But what we're doing is we're minimizing all of those different challenges that I talked about at the beginning. Here's a name drop focus template, and so, hey, the reason why I'm reaching out to you is that I'm with TechLight, and we worked with Steelsmith and provided them with a website update and refresh. This helped them to not only increase website traffic, but also improve the conversion rate and number of leads that they were able to get through their website. I don't know if we can help you in the same way, and that's why I'm trying to connect with you. I'll give you a call next week. So again, really short emails, and you'll notice, see, the nice thing about this approach is that I could send all of these 3 emails to the same prospect over a period of time. And what I'm also doing with one of the tips that I outlined to educate the prospect, each of these messages is a little bit different. So I'm continuing to try to connect with the prospect at multiple times. So multi-touch mindset. I'm educating the prospect with a slightly different message every time. Now, think about how hard that is to do with a product-centric message. If I email you and I tell you the product that I sell and the company that I'm with and what the product does, and that's really the type of messaging that I use, what can I really send you if I want to email you again? I mean, I email you again and talk about my product again. Actually, and I do get emails in that direction too, which are which basically a salesperson will just reply to that same email. Did you get my email? Are you sure you don't want to talk? And that's where, I mean, it's just all downhill from there. It's totally annoying. So those are some examples of the email templates that are produced by SalesScripter. There are also examples of what I would recommend that you transition to improve your sales prospecting. There's all these emails are able to be accessed inside of SalesScripter, and there's dozens of others in there. For example, there's also you can use the same logic and create pre-call emails. You can create post-call emails, meaning emails that go out to someone after you've talked to them or after they said, hey, call me back. You could create post-voicemail emails. So now, like I said, we're not recommending you just send that email and sit back and wait for them to respond. We actually do recommend some sort of call cadence. So this is part of the ebook that you should have received from your registration here. But here's an example of mixing your pre-calls with your emails, and pre-call emails with calls and voicemail messages and voicemail follow-up emails and whatnot. So. Now, I mentioned that I showed you those 3 different emails, and I said you could send these to the same prospect. We've created email threads in SalesScripter, which take those different messages and stitch them together into a sequence, so that you don't have to worry about. Because if you send me, and so here's a 6 email thread. Email number 1 is value message. Then wait 1 to 2 weeks, or depending on however long or short you want to wait. 1 to 2 weeks, then you send the pain message. 1 to 2 weeks, then you send the name drop message. 1 to 2 weeks, then you send the qualify message. I didn't show you the qualify message. The qualify message is one like, see, once you have your qualifying questions that you should ask, you could send an email that says, hey, I'm trying to determine if it makes sense for us to talk. The questions I'd like to ask you are question 1, question 2, question 3. If your answer is anywhere close to yes to any of those, we probably could have a very productive conversation. And so that's the message. Now, that's a weaker message than the first 3. So it's one worth sending, but that's why it's later in the thread. You're beginning to sort of get close to sort of giving up here if you haven't gotten them on the phone and you haven't gotten a response. So that's when you can start to send that qualify message. The next message is it's a product message. And you heard me say, don't sound like a salesperson. Well, at some point, at this point in the thread, and we might be a month or a month and a half of emailing this prospect at this point, you can send them a product message, which is, and so our product message sounds something like this. It says, hey, I've been trying to reach you and haven't been successful. If we were to get together, I probably might want to see if you're a good fit for, and then you start to talk about your product. So you kind of avoided it for 4 emails, and now you're just at the point where, okay, let me just put it out there. And then the last message is sort of a last attempt message. Haven't had a response. Sometimes no response is indeed a response, and here are some benefits if you're sure that those are things you're not interested in, whatever. So that's the last attempt message. Again, now not only are all those individual templates in SalesScripter, but in the threads that we produce, we've created sort of the language that makes one pick up where the other left off. So, it already has the, hey, I sent you an email about this. And so it's all there ready for you just to basically use without thinking at all. And the next tip that I have is for you to automate your emails. And whether you use so you can actually send your emails through Sales Scripter. So you basically just, if the email is ready, you can click send, make any modifications, or if you like it exactly the way it is, you just, with a couple clicks, you're sending that email to your contact, and Sales Scripter is where all your email templates are. So there's a big benefit there to send the emails through Sales Scripter. But you could, if you're using any other kind of CRM or marketing automation solution, there's lots of different ways to send email besides just an email client. Meaning, what I would say is light automation would be loading up the templates into a system where you can click them from a drop down and send them very quickly. I do have a client that uses another system, and they've moved all of the Sales Scripter templates and reloaded them up into that other system, and that's definitely doable. The concern is there we create so many different email templates that it can be a lot of work to get all the different campaigns and templates loaded up, and then anytime you might make a change to a campaign, then you'd have to go back and load up all those templates into your other system. So it's real nice if you just, we don't want Sales Scripter to replace what you're using for a CRM or automation, but it can be designed to augment, so you can deliver your emails, your prospecting emails specifically, through Sales Scripter. Now, the other thing that's really nice, so that's light automation, is having the templates able to be sent from a couple clicks through whatever system you use. Now, the full automation would be to create those threads and have those emails 2 through 6 or however many be totally automated. So you can do that through Sales Scripter, whereas where you see the email thread, you can just click send, and you're only having to click send once. You click send once and then you forget it. So over the next period of a month or two, your prospects continuing to get those additional emails, and you're focused on other stuff. And so that's really nice. There's different systems you could use for that, but you can do that in Sales Scripter. The other recommendation that I would make for your email prospecting is to track your emails from like an open and click standpoint. You can, with a lot of systems, and you can do this with Sales Scripter, you typically track when someone opens your email and when they click any links. So that's really good data. It can tell you who's engaging with your emails, and when you're able to get that data, you're able to do lead scoring. And lead scoring, basically, you can associate points. So like in Sales Scripter, you get a certain number of points for an open, but you get a lot more points for a click. Someone clicking on a link is a lot more engaged. So when you're able to do lead scoring, you can see what prospects are engaging, and then who is a warmer lead for you to follow up on, so you can make better decisions on who you pursue. Once your emails are designed, then you might reach a point where there's somebody that you want to reach and you don't have their email address. Believe it or not, you can actually guess a prospect's email address with pretty good accuracy because of the way most businesses use a naming convention for their email addresses. I just listed out almost probably the majority of the different naming conventions here on this page for your prospect. So if you know what company they work for, and you know the web address for a prospect, and you know what their name is, you can use one of these different combinations and typically figure out a prospect's email address. So you could either do trial and error and guess a prospect's email. If it doesn't bounce back, then you can kind of assume that you got it right. There are some different tools on the internet that will verify an email address. We actually have one inside of Sales Scripter. It's a feature we call an email guesser. So that whole list of different potential combinations of email addresses, our software actually does that for you. So you basically put in the first name, put in the last name, put in the website address, and basically our software will verify and go out across the internet to all the mail servers and find which one of those works.